A big story this morning. The Department of Telecommunications has made the Sanchar Saathi app mandatory on every new phone made in India or imported for Indian consumers. The government says the move will empower users to enhance their security and prevent the misuse of devices by preventing tampering with or spoofing of IMEI numbers. In an order issued on November 21st, the government directed all smartphone makers, including Apple, Google, Samsung, Motorola, Xiaomi, Vivo and Oppo, that the app must be pre-installed, clearly visible and functional during the phone's initial setup, and no functionality be hidden or disabled. Moreover, existing smartphones will receive the app as part of any future firmware update. Now, phone makers have been given 90 days to comply and 120 days to file their compliance reports. For new phones already on shop shelves, the app again will be pushed through software updates. Now, well, Sanchar Saathi isn't exactly new, but this mandatory pre-installation and future installation sure seems to be a new feature. Now, perhaps the government was indeed future ready 2 years ago when the Sanchar Saathi app initiative was launched first as a portal. So this is how the Sanchar Saathi portal began in May 2023. The original Sanchar Saathi portal allowed users to voluntarily, and that's the important word here, voluntarily report and block lost phones and malicious links. It also showed how many mobile connections were registered to a user and verified trusted bank contact details. According to the government, the new app now will simplify the fraud reporting, removing the need to visit the website. And users can report fraud without remembering their IMEI numbers, as the portal is advanced enough to fetch it. The app offers services like checking connections in your name, verifying device authenticity, and flagging spam or suspicious calls. It also lets users report international calls spoofed with Indian numbers without needing OTP verification. According to data, over 42.14 lakh phones have been blocked and 26.11 lakh lost or stolen devices have been traced under the initiative since it began in May 2023. The Sanchar Saathi portal, not the app, but the Sanchar Saathi portal, has received 288 lakh requests for checking mobile connections, resolving more than 254 lakh so far. Now, coming to the app, that too apparently has over 1.14 crore registrations with 1 crore plus downloads on Google Play and 9.5 lakh plus downloads on the Apple iOS App Store. But there are concerns, and some very big concerns at that. First up, if Sanchar Saathi comes pre-installed and can't be removed, does it become a government tracker? Nikhil, Pahwa, founder of MediaNama, asked on X, what stops this app from leading to other mandatory apps like a digital ID app, a Digi Yatra, a VPN blocker, or even something that reads your messages? Once the government gets access deep inside the phone system, it may never roll it back. Next important question, is this an invasion of personal space? Our phones hold private chats and sensitive information. How can we be sure that the app won't access files or messages now or through a future update of the app? This raises serious privacy concerns. Next up, did the government exempt itself from data protection for a reason? The data protection law makes private companies more accountable, but the government faces fewer restrictions. This situation seems to show why the government may have planned the DPDP in that manner. And is this just more unwanted apps being forced on us? Phones already come with unwanted apps. Now the government is adding its own. Earlier, buying a phone with bloatware was indeed your choice. This time, it isn't. Now, was there a public consultation? The DOT simply seems to have issued an order without asking people or explaining its purpose. If it goes unchecked, will more such actions follow? So the big question on the show today really is Sanchar Saathi indeed a friendly government initiative to prevent frauds and strengthen cybersecurity as the order claims it would? Or is it something more sinister, where the Saathi is in fact a snitch, a snooping app? Nikhil, Pahwa, founder and editor MediaNama, joins me today along with Kanishk Gaur, cybersecurity expert and CEO of India Future Foundation. To you first, Nikhil, pertinent questions that you raised on X last night, and as I was reading through them, it seems fairly important to note that the app comes pre-installed. Right now, the government claims that this is to prevent fraud and to enhance cyber security. But what if some of the concerns that you raised, that the government uses this device to snoop into your phone and read your messages, look at your private files or your private photographs? How does one prevent that?
Yeah, Kartik, essentially the app gets installed on the OS layer, and pre-installed apps usually have much stronger binding with the device, and the government is clearly directed that you cannot uninstall it. So even if it's saying that, like many apps you pre-install and you can remove it if you want, they're saying you shouldn't be able to disable it, you shouldn't be able to install it. So it is a perpetual occupation of your personal device, of your personal space. I can today disable many apps that I want. I can find an OS that doesn't have that doesn't require Gmail to sign in, and install that if I want. There are options available. We have choice. This is a removal of choice and an invasion into our personal space. And this Sanchar Saathi is not something that we will use every single day. It's only when the device gets lost, right? And so you may need it when your phone is lost. You can log onto the website and do it also, but you don't necessarily need it on a daily basis that the government is forcing it on you. It does not prevent social engineering and the kind of scams that we are seeing, the digital arrest scams that we are seeing. So it doesn't really prevent fraud over there. An app on your phone cannot do that. It's about your own consciousness of what's going on around you. So these are all measures that will not solve the problem for us, but open a gateway to government getting access to our devices, and potentially, right now, for example, they have a tool called Chakshu, which can be used to report messages and frauds, and that can have perpetual sort of scanning of your messages and calls, and flag what is problematic if someone's calling you or someone's messaging you. That itself, if it is enabled by default, will then give people access to all your messages. The
Right.
other thing is all this data gets stored with the government if it goes there, right? In which case, all your IMEI data, um, your and and your mobile number, and it starts getting linked.
Right.
And the Sanchar Saathi database itself becomes a honeypot. Someone, even to gain access to your devices, just has to compromise the Sanchar Saathi app.
Right.
And so it makes you more vulnerable because this will be on every single Indian phone's device, every single Indian user's device.
Yeah.
And so it's an easy way to access everybody's phone, more liable to get hacked, more liable to be compromised. And come on, tell me the last time the government actually made an app that didn't have vulnerabilities.
Absolutely.
Uh,
I mean, look at the EPFO website. Look at, all the other, apps and websites that the government has initiated. There have been glitches, and those glitches have been reported. But Kanish, jump in here and help us understand a lot of questions being raised here by Nikhil, and some very important ones. Number one, the chances of your phone now getting hacked, your IMEI number now getting hacked increase, because now everybody who's out there with malicious intent knows that this app is available on every single user's device, number one. Number two, if you already had a portal, the same Sanchar Saathi portal and also the Chakshu portal, to report fraud or to report or to verify where your IMEI, etc. is being used, which are the devices registered to your phone, do you need an app 24/7 in your phone, resident in your phone, not just eating into space and memory, but also pretty much potentially looking at everything that your phone is doing?
See, government's initiative is basically trying to curb digital arrest cases, or the number of, phones, or the number of SIMs which are moving out of the country. So track them down, because a lot of times for digital arrest, you have SIMs which are moving out of the country. The moment they are put inside a phone, the government will be able to track all of those kind of activity. But doing this in the current manner and form of imposing something without public consultation or not looking at alternate methods does not solve for the issue. it exposes a Pandora's box, because this same data which is collected could be used to hack into people's personal lives, their spaces, and could also be used for tracking their identity. While government at one point of time is trying to bring in the data protection law, creating this new database would have another significant data fiduciary. And how government is looking at safeguarding this data? Would there be proper red teaming, pen testing, or security procedure being followed to maintain proper encryption and control for this Chakshu app and for the database
Right.
is a big question mark right now.
But you know,
There
just
were
to
questions.
raise some more questions on the points that you're raising, and Nikhil, I'll request you to jump in here. Now, the fact that if a SIM card issued in India is being taken outside of the shores of India, what is stopping a scamster from using a phone which is bought outside? Use the same Indian number, use the same Indian SIM, but not really have this Sanchar Saathi app downloaded on a phone which is bought abroad. And similarly, I mean, what prevents fraudsters from using not a smartphone but a regular feature phone where there is going to be no app installed and use, let's say, just a computer hooked on to any VPN, any Wi-Fi network, and still go ahead and make those scams happen?
So, Kartik, the digital arrest scams, which are basically holding someone on video until they do certain activities, etc., is not possible with a feature phone because feature phones don't have that kind of visual camera and integration. So, I think that is one thing which might get it. But what is the like if there are, let's say, 10 million people getting impacted by it, why are we subjecting almost a billion people, over a billion people to this?
Is
Is so
guilty until
there is
proven
an idea of
innocent.
proportionality here.
It seems everybody seems, in the eyes of the government, everybody is potentially guilty until proven innocent.
Yes, it's not just that. Now you talked about SIM being taken outside the country. Frankly, I mean there are tools that are going by people that scamsters can use to disable or even mislead the Sanchar Saathi app. And SIMs have already been smuggled to Cambodia, Burma, I mean, to Cambodia and Myanmar. And if it's an Indian SIM on a device, it can still be used to do the same activity. There's another regulation that we haven't discussed here today, but that order was also issued on Friday, which says
The
that
WhatsApp order.
for WhatsApp and Telegram and all and many social media apps also
Yeah,
have to be bound to a SIM card.
that's right.
Now that creates another level of vulnerability because then that SIM card itself becomes, then it's linked to the device. So if your phone gets stolen, someone can put that SIM in a new device and get access to everything because your account is bound to the SIM and not the device. Currently, if your phone gets stolen, you log in from a new device with a new SIM, you can actually take your account back. But that won't be possible when that happens. When people are traveling abroad, they may not be able to use an international SIM.
Right.
WhatsApp for web is also being disabled there. So there are a lot of these thoughtless regulations which have come out in the last couple of days, in the last week or so, from the Department of Telecommunications that doesn't understand technology. And to my mind, it doesn't even have the legal backing to be able to regulate technology. Ashwini Vaishnaw, when he was telecom minister, said that the Telecom Act will not cover internet companies.
Right.
But now the new, what Mr. Sindhya has done is that he's used the Telecom Act to gain control over regulation of internet companies, and they have no experience in this.
Right.
They're a telecom ministry. They understand mobile operators, right?
Right.
So they're imposing these things without realizing how you and I use the internet, how you and I use these apps. So it is, to my mind, just a complete travesty of regulation that we're seeing. And I haven't seen this number of bad decisions come through from a ministry for a very long time.
Right. So travesty, which is literally being imposed on every citizen. But Kanishk, I really want to understand. is this something that the government had planned for during the DPDP first phase of consultation and then eventually when it became India's digital protection law? Now, is this something that the government had planned for, and is this something which is going to lead to something more sinister going forward? Because you have access to my phone, there's an unwanted app on my device which I don't know is doing what in the back end. Is this really going to open up a whole new floodgate of chaos which is going to happen in the telecom market?
See, let me clarify. The DPDP rules are being mandated by the Ministry of Electronic Information Technology, which is a different ministry all put together. And the rules which are being made with this app are rolled out by the Department of Telecom. The ministers for both of them are separate, while Ashwini Vaishnav still presides over Ministry of Electronics and Information
Sure.
Technology. We've got Mr. Sindhia who's presiding over the Department of Telecom.
But this
And
is a
today,
digital app.
I'm sorry, I would.
But Kanishk, this is a digital app being installed in smartphones which are using data, and data technically then becomes internet driven, right? So overall,
see,
my question, my limited
there's a
question
overlap.
is
There's a
DPDP,
overlap.
is DPDP giving government the sort of shield to do anything it wants to do with any individual's device and pretty much go scot-free?
See, DPDP would give government certain, ministries, certain departments an exception. Now we need to see whether exception is given to this particular department, which is a digital intelligence unit of Department of Telecom. Will it come under the exemption uh, program? That is something
You
we
want to
need
step
to
in?
learn.
Does it come under the
No.
exception?
I don't think so. It comes under the exception. So that's why let's see how this shapes up, because today we are seeing over regulation and overlaps with two different ministries coming out with different set of regulations, and each of
This
them
is
just
over
differently.
regulation. This is overreach. Nikhil, what is your view?
Can I just come in over
Yes.
here? Let's go back to basics. This is a government that went to the Supreme Court and argued that privacy isn't a fundamental right. That's the basis. They don't believe privacy is a fundamental right. They lost that case. The, in the Data Protection Act, they've given exemptions to themselves. That Data Protection Act has not been operationalized 9 years after that judgment came out. And every step of the way, they have increased the exemptions for the government. The first version that Justice Sri Krishna had created had restrictions on government. That has been removed in the final version. So they may.
I hear you.
No,
I hear you,
Kartik,
Nikhil.
let me finish.
Yeah.
There is it's a conscious decision by the government. It's not the ministry. Maybe MeitY might be the nodal ministry for it, but we know that all of the security and surveillance is being run by the Ministry of Home Affairs, and that's the most powerful ministry in the government today. So it has directed, literally, I would assume, the MeitY to ensure that the government has exemptions. All of these moves that are being made, we have to look at it as the government as a whole. You can't say this minister is doing this, that minister is not doing it. That's not, they may be separate ministries, but the impact on the user is the same. The impact on our privacy is the same, coming from a government that didn't want a fundamental right to privacy.
Absolutely. So I completely
This is
hear
the
you,
beginning
Nikhil.
of a failed state.
I hear you, Nikhil. I hear you completely, and I'm in agreement with what with the points that you're making here right now. But I just want to understand what next. Now we know that this is an app which is going to be pre-installed on every device. This is an app which is going to be pushed to your devices over the air every time there's a firmware update. And we don't know whether or not this app is going to give access to government beyond cybersecurity, which it claims to do. So, as citizens, what do we do and what comes next?
I will tell you what's next. There is, back in 2011, under the UPA government, there was this idea that was floated for NatGrid, which was a database to cover all databases. What it said was, we will get access to public and private databases in order to track users in real time. When Aadhaar was being rolled out, there was an idea of 360-degree visibility on citizens. NatGrid is what brings it all together. It basically, Aadhaar indicates that this Ram Singh is different from that Ram Singh, right? So this is with NatGrid, data from all databases will be available in real time. And the initial plan for MHA was to have, I think, about 200 or 600 public and private databases Eventual plan was to have about 1900 public and private databases. Today, under the Data Protection Act, the government has given it the right itself the right to access private databases about you. So they can go to a Paytm, they can go to even an Amazon India and say, give
Absolutely.
us all the transaction history for this person. So
Absolutely.
there is a 360-degree profile platform called NatGrid, which is readying for rollout. And, and, uh, and, and the Home Minister talked about it in Parliament at least in 2019 when I reported on this, right? In much detail about what the plan is. So once that rolls out, all of this will come into play.
Absolutely. So, Kanishk, what do citizens do if citizens want to keep their private conversations private, keep their data on their private devices private? Do citizens have a choice?
See, ultimately, you will have to file injunction in the court, right? You will have to appear and basically uh, be in front of the court, whether it is civil society or whether it is through people like Nikhil, who talk about freedom of expression or protecting fundamental right of privacy of individuals. Because today, through this, there is going to be mass surveillance, which is going to be created by government. And the large databases that Nikhil talked about, if those are fused together, it could allow the government to trace personal identifiable information. So by making exception in the DPDP and by creating these new norms, and then having data fusion of different databases put together, they would know anything and everything about individuals. And this could be used against individuals as well, right? How do you
Will
protect
be used
people?
for the cyber security and the security, digital security of citizens, or will be used against them is not something that we have an answer to right now. But it seems for sure that the government is going to be resident with the Sanchar Saathi app in your phones, whether you buy a new phone off the shelf or whether you update an existing phone with the new firmware. Well, we are completely out of time, but Nikhil, Pahwa, thank you so much for raising those pertinent questions, and Kanishk for all the expert insights that you've given us.